Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. So this is a different type of video from what I usually do. Obviously we're gonna do a tier list on the Grizzco weapons. I think this is the perfect time to do one because we recently got the golden weapon rotation, which is pretty much only Grizzco weapons this weekend on Marooners Bay, which was a different map. So now I can finally do the tier list. I had this idea for probably 2 months, but I don't think it was a perfect time to do it because we didn't get the Grizzco charger at the time, so I decided to wait. So yeah, by the way, this is going to be solely based on my opinion and my experience with all these Grizzco weapons. So with that, let's hop into the tier list, starting off with the Grizzco Blaster. Okay, the Grizzco Blaster, I think, is the most overrated weapon out of all the Grizzco weapons. So the Grizzco Blaster is a mix between the Lunar Blaster's range and the fire rate of a Clash Blaster, probably even faster than it. It does 50 damage direct and 35 damage minimum from splash damage, which is not the craziest damage for a Grizzco weapon. It also has a 3% ink consumption, meaning with a full tank you will only have 32 to 33 shots per ink tank, which is not a lot considering how fast it shoots. Because it has Lunar Blaster range, you have to be real close to your enemies, and painting wise is not the greatest, especially if you're trying to move around maps. With enemies, it struggles against Quahawks and high HP bosses. Quahawks, because they have 400 HP, meaning it will take 8 shots just to take a single Quahawk, which is pretty much 1/4 of your ink team. But if there's any lesser Salmonoids around the Quahawk, then it's not a waste. So with high HP bosses like Steelheads, Big Shots, Drizzler, etc., it struggles because its damage and the range. But the Grizzco Blaster does excel going against Stingers, Fish Sticks, and Glowflies because of their low HP. Overall, while the Grizzco Blaster destroys Salmonoids with low HP, like small fries, chums, stingers, fish sticks, glowflies, etc., it will struggle against higher HP bosses, which does hurt it a bit, and because of the range. So I'm gonna put him on here. Next up we got is the Grizzco brella, and I think it is a underrated weapon, and I think it deserves to be a tier above the Grizzco Blaster. Now, hear me out. Many of you guys will disagree, but the Grizzco brella has a base damage of 60 and has an ink consumption of 2%, meaning you will have 50 shots per ink team, which I think is a step up from the Grizzco Blaster. The weakness, just like the Grizzco Blaster, is it will struggle going against high HP bosses. But since it has a great paint coverage and better range than the Grizzco Blasters, I think it's better off if you guys let the enemies come to you instead of you going to them. And because of it has range and turf, you could also escape with no problem at all. Overall, while not being a weapon to take down bosses, it's a perfect turfer that can take out lesser Salmonoids, and I consider one of my favorite Grizzco weapons to use. And I think it's a small step up from the Grizzco Blaster. Now we're getting to the interesting ones with the Grizzco Charger. The Grizzco Charger is also known as a boss slayer. It's a mix between the range of an E-leader and the charge of a bamboozler, which I think is a very deadly combo. It has a base damage of 200, which is higher than both the Blaster and brella, but it has an ink consumption of 3%, meaning with a full ink tank, you will have a maximum of 7 to 8 shots per ink tank. It also has normal pierce, which is not armor pierce, which we will talk about later with the next weapon, which will allow you to hit multiple Salmonoids. So hey, that's a plus. If you have the Grizzco Charger, I suggest you prioritize on bosses, except flyfish, stingers, and fish sticks, which I think they'll struggle the most. and ignore any lesser Salmonoids. Even if you're focusing on those bosses, don't waste all of your shots at once. Save some in the tank to either be repositioning or for a quick getaway. And if you get surrounded by lesser Salmonoids, then I think that's a GG's. Overall, while it's a good weapon, it's good on taking out high HP bosses, as well as having that normal pierce. It will struggle with any low HP boss / lesser Salmonoids that are in the way. So I think because it could take down high HP bosses, I'll put it probably above, well, I think around here. I mean, if you pair it with these two, I think it's a great combo, to be honest. Like, this can turf, this can take out bosses, so I think together I think it can work pretty good. Now next one is going to be Grizzco Slosher, and honestly I'm just going to be pretty biased around here. I think the Grizzco Slosher is the best Grizzco weapon. Now there's people that will disagree and people that can agree. Just like the Grizzco Charger, it's a boss killer, so you should also prioritize more on bosses than on lesser Salmonoids, especially small fries, since they're going to be the trickier targets to get. While it does have horrible ink efficiency, coming in with a whopping 25% ink consumption, meaning you will only have a maximum of 4 shots with a full tank. And it is also an extremely slow slosher because of its shots travel pretty slow, but with those cons it has a pro, and that is the armor piercing ability, which I think is absolutely broken and is similar to the Stingray in Splatoon 2 and Explosion. What makes it broken is that it can pierce through multiple Salmonoids, Drizzler and Scrapper's armor, Steel Eels and Griller's ink walls, Slamonlet's force field, and will do direct damage to steelheads and flagfishes. The only boss that I can think of that the Slosher will struggle with are fish sticks, but they aren't that hard to defeat anyways. Its pink coverage is rather pretty good for a slow Slosher, having only 4 in the tank. Overall, while having a horrible ink efficiency and its shots travel very slow, it makes up with its armor piercing ability to take out 99% of the enemies that are in front of you. Yeah, that's pretty much it with the Grizzco Slosher. Now we're only left with 2 more, next up being the Grizzco Stinger. So Grizzco Stinger is a wonky weapon out of the 6. So instead of the normal 3 projectiles, it has 9 projectiles, and it has a faster charge than a normal Tri-Stinger, but it has the highest and fastest ink consumption out of any other Grizzco weapon. A tap shot consumes 10% ink, and a fully charged shot consumes 30% ink, which is 5% more than the Grizzco Slosher's ink consumption. So if we calculate this, we'll have 3 charge shots and 1 tap shots, or 2 charge shots, 4 tap shots, or 1 charge shots and 7 tap shots per ink tank, which isn't really that great because of how difficult it is to aim with this with it. So its damage is it's kind of like weird, but let me explain. It does 150 damage per projectile, which there's 9 projectiles, meaning it will do 1350 damage with a single full charge, which sounds good on paper, but remember, if you hit all your shots, which is unlikely. It also will do 35 damage per projectile, and tap shots will do 35 damage per projectile, which is similar damage to an indirect Grizzco blaster shot. So with 9 projectiles, it'll do a total of 350 damage in total, and that's still not a lot because it does do 35 damage with a tap shot, which is very little. I say the only pros with this weapon is that it's a good turfer, but I do think Brella is better, and I think it's the only weapon, or the only Grizzco weapon, that can fight off with Kohozuna because of how big Kohozuna hitboxes are, and possibly you could hit all 9 projectiles to Kohozuna. So I mean, I guess overall, while this weapon only strives in 2 things, which is turfing and destroying Kohozuna, I think isn't that great because going against any Salmonoid bosses, any lesser Salmonids, it will struggle. Plus, in Kozuna Wave, it's unlikely you will get Stringer, like one at like a 25% chance of getting it on a Kozuna's Wave. So honestly, I consider this the worst Grizzco weapon by far. I'm not gonna put in garbage tier. I will put it out here still. Of course, it's the worst one. Of course, it is the worst Grizzco weapon. It does, going against Kohozuna and the way it turns, I think, you know, it's still good. But that's pretty much it. Alright, there's probably many people that will disagree with this. So who am I kidding? Last but not least, oh boy, the Grizzco Splatana. So there's so much to talk about with this weapon. So, you know, I'm just gonna put it right here. There's a reason why. So the weapon's uncharged attack does 200 damage, just like the Grizzco charger, which is fairly a lot, and its charge wind, which takes roughly 2.5 seconds to fully charge, will do a staggering 1,200 damage, which I think is the highest damaging weapon in Salmon Run, while having the piercing armor ability just like the Grizzco slosher, meaning it is capable of destroying any boss Salmonoid in its way. So why is it a tier below Grizzco slosher? You know what, I'll let you guys think about it for a second. Alright, so in exchange on doing extreme amount of damage, it has the least painting range out of any weapon in the game. Its painting capability is awful, horrible, abysmal. But oh, doesn't it have a charge swing and paint like a normal splatana? No. You see, with the Grizzco splatana, you only paint from point A, which is where you're standing, to point B, which is where you land. And because of how big the lunge is with the Grizzco splatana, there's also a chance when using a charge swing, you can either A, miss your target completely, B, hit a different target, or C, by the time you charge your swing, you are surrounded by a horde of Salmonoids. Also, if you have multiple Grizzco splatanas in a wave, like 2 or 3, you gotta pray for your teammates that didn't get splatana to either get a weapon that supports or a weapon that turfs. And if you get neither, then you're completely screwed. Overall, while this weapon is rather difficult to use and having a lot of flaws, it's still one of the most explosive weapons in the game, and I will still consider it number 2. So yeah, that's the end of the video. It's very interesting to do, and if you guys want, I'll leave the tier list down in the description if you guys want to check it out. Maybe in a future video I could like check out the tier list, see what you guys got, and rate them out of 10, see how that goes. If you guys want to see more tier lists, which I think will be highly unlikely, just leave a suggestion down in the comments. If you guys want to see more from me, consider yourself subscribing to the channel, leave a like, turn on notifications, all that good stuff. And yeah, that's it for the video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.